Okay, so here I am back for video number 3, and here's my delightful bike. Yeah, looking good. A little dirty, but yeah, that's to be expected, right? You ride your bike, it's going to get dirty. You wear clothes that are going to get dirty. So, what I wanted to focus on, if I can sit on this without knocking it over, is finding the right road for practicing your skills. Now, every skill set's going to have its own requirements, right? So every road is not going to be suitable for every skill you're trying to work on. But one of the joys of having a bike is imagining and coming up with ideas for improving a specific skill. And what I say in the video, you'll see, is, if you're working on something like just merging into traffic, in the city, on the interstate, get in your car and drive around and find an on-ramp and off-ramp that you're familiar with that won't scare the crap out of you. And then, once you feel comfortable, emotionally, get on the bike and do it. And, like I always say, you got to ride your own ride, but do not let the challenges of riding your bike keep you from riding it. Don't let it intimidate you. Remember, it's fun, man. It's a hoot. It's a kick. It's awesome. And if you go out at it with that attitude, then, things are going to happen for you. Your skills are going to get better, and you're going to ride roads that you would have never been on and see things that you would have never seen before, because, you don't just pick out a cool twisty road to go on your in your Honda Civic, right? Can you imagine? Oh yeah. Never loved a car that much. So I'm gonna hit the road and yammer away, and I hope you find it good. I hope you find it informative and maybe entertaining. All right. Forget that. There. To do my helmet strap. You know how impossible it is to get those on with gloves. Yeah, we're going to talk about skills and practicing, and how do you get better, at any skill. But riding a motorcycle, because you've got all different kinds of riding. I mean, just for a normal street bike like this, and speaking just for myself, I rode dirt bikes and little beat up bikes, enduros and Honda 90s and stuff like that, through pastures and off-road and stuff when I was a teenager. But I didn't get a real bike, street legal bike, until I was an adult. So when I started, because I had all that teenage experience on like dirt bikes and on off-road stuff. So I had like remedial. I already knew about shifting and the controls and your general weight and balance issues. But so I got my first motorcycle. It was a Honda Shadow Sabre 1100, 2002. And it was heavy, man. It was heavy, and I was for a while. You know, I was like, I mean, I never ever once doubted my purchase or decision to really get into motorcycles. But I felt like a big pussy, you know, to be blunt, because it's like, oh my god, this thing's so heavy. And so my first self lessons was just riding it around. I was living in an apartment back then. It was riding it around the parking lot. I just did right turns in a big loop. It was huge, like an apartment city in Texas. And just doing that until I kind of got used to the weight. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna be brave today, and I'm gonna take it out on the real streets. And this was like out in the sprawling suburbs of Dallas, so there was no traffic, you know, it was just nothing. And so these roads were really nicely paved, no road surface hazards or anything, and hardly any traffic. And I would just go and then just go around the block. It was a big, long block because it's still kind of country-ish. I would just go around the block, right turns only, you know, until it was like, all right, nailed it. You know, I didn't fall off, I didn't drop it. It was great. And I just did that for a while. And then, as my skills improved, you know, my confidence got a little higher, then I would venture out into the real city streets or suburban streets and highways. And there were so many, I remember. There was a golf course like way out in the middle of nowhere. And I just found it, just driving these lonely 2-lane highways or just these small roads. Sorry, I have an itch. I always have an itch because there's spiders that live in my helmet. Tiny ones. Fuckers. And then before long, I mean, by the end of the summer, I was like, I wasn't afraid of anything. I mean, I was cautious and careful, but I was loving it. By the end of the summer, and keep in mind, Texas summers are long, I put a lot of miles. I put like maybe close to 3,000 miles or 2,500 miles on that bike in like 5 months. 4 months? 5 months. Must have been 5 months. That's a lot of miles. But yeah, and then you could pretty much ride all year round. And I was like riding it through heavy and intense downtown traffic to get to my job. And I did that forever. I remember it was funny because it's like I'd only get in my car if I had to go grocery shopping. And I'd get in my car and it was like all dusty. I mean, outside, inside. It was like, oh, my poor car. I've forsaken my car. But I guess the point that I'm making is you need to find the roads that you're comfortable with, the routes, and just take it at your own pace. You be you. And love it. I mean, you gotta love it. You gotta enjoy it. I mean, if you're making yourself all stressed out and everything, then you're not gonna love it. So do what you're comfortable with. I mean, go easy. Go slow. If you love it, you're gonna wake up the next morning and say, oh man, I'm gonna do it again. And you know what? I'm gonna put it in 5th gear, you know? I'm gonna try leaning a little bit more into that turn. And it's very, very helpful when it's on a road that you're familiar with. You know the traffic patterns, you know the road surface condition, you know when the turns are, where the curves are, where people might turn out in front of you. You know, find those roads. You know, and if it makes you feel better, get in your car and find them first. Say, okay, this is a good road. You know, I'm going to practice a specific skill on this road. It's got like lots of twisties, so do it that way. Because right now, I mean, I think where I need to improve my skills, it's on the twisties, because there's so many twisty, very scenic roads here in the Pacific Northwest. And I think I've been on most of them. But there is one that does. It's got these twisties. It says, you know what? I'm going to practice the twisties. And I'm going to just keep practicing until I feel more comfortable and I could, ride a little faster. But it's always got to be fun. If you're not having fun on your bike, if you're pushing yourself too hard, then you're going to quit. You're going to end up with a very expensive toy in your garage with hardly any miles on it that you're trying to sell. But with my story, it's like there's some times when I was like, I wonder where that goes or where that goes. Now, keep in mind, this was before GPS and cell phones. This is 2002. I was still reading maps. I would go to like MapQuest, do a route, print it out, and take that with me on my motorcycle or in my car, and then I would go scout out that location in my car, reading my printed out MapQuest directions. But I would do that to find a road that I didn't feel intimidated on. I wanted to find roads that would challenge me, but I did not want to be intimidated. I didn't want to feel pressured. I wanted it to be fun. And if you're first starting out, you don't have your sea legs yet, if going 20 miles an hour in your parking lot, doing right-hand turns, if that's fun, then, dude, you're going to be so good on that bike by the end of the summer or within a few months. So, because a lot of people think, and it is, it's kind of intimidating. I know, I was just going on about intimidation. Let it suck the fun out of the most awesome activity that I can think of. And today it's really windy and cold, but it's September 30th, and I'm just trying to cram in as much bike time as I possibly can before she's in the garage for 5 months plus. So this is the road that goes to Olympia. This is like the main highway. Now, it's not an interstate. That's I-5, and I do that when I go, up into Seattle. But it's a good highway. It's got highway speeds. There are no twisties. There are some turns, and you got to mitigate traffic a little bit. So, I mean, it's a good practice road. It's just a good all-around practice road if you're practicing at higher speeds. My little scenic meditation rides, well, you saw it, the last one I think was at, it's like I'm not even in 6th gear on those rides. I'm probably top speeds, well, I might be in 6th gear. Top speed's like 60. But it's fun, so I'm doing it. So that is my story. But, the key takeaway from this is there are roads out there for every skill level, for every interest, and don't give up. You bought this motorcycle because it's fun. It's therapeutic. It's a release. It's a new skill that you can get your whole mind and body engaged in. Don't give up on that just because, you're a little squeamish about highway traffic, or squeamish about going fast, or taking turns, or squeamish about making U-turns, slow turns. Keep at it. Enjoy it. grow and get better, there's nothing I'd rather be doing. Well, okay, maybe one thing I'd rather be doing, but if I can't do that, I'm going to do this. And it's awesome. And if you want to take the Motorcycle Safety Foundation course, well, you should, not if you want. I mean, you should want. I think everybody does want. Everybody wants. So, I mean, I took it back in the day. I passed the class like 4 days before I got my Honda Shadow Saber. And it'll teach you basic things. You know, it'll get your confidence up a little bit, because they're little bikes. It's so easy to do these exercises on small bikes, but it's fun. It'll get you amped. Take that course and you'll be eager to take your bike out on the real road in real life conditions. That means the end of the video. And thanks for watching. I should do one of these. Doop.